There is a specific feeling. It's a quiet, almost invisible moment that I think every single person listening has experienced.
Oh, for sure. Probably more than once.
Exactly. And it's not a crisis. It's not, a car crash or losing a job. It's actually a very calm moment, usually.
Mm-hmm.
You're just sitting there. Maybe it's a Tuesday evening. The house is quiet. And you have this sudden creeping realization that time is moving, whether you move or not.
It's like the conveyor belt theory of life. You can stand perfectly still, but the ground beneath you is still rushing toward an end. That's a terrifying way to start a deep dive, honestly.
I know, it's heavy. But that's the hook of the piece we're diving into today. It's a text called The Responsibility of Potential, a Guide to Self-Respect.
And it's a title that can make you brace yourself a little bit.
It did for me. I have to be honest with you and with everyone listening. When I saw that title, my guard went right up. I thought, great, another hustle culture manifesto,
Wake up at 3 a.m., take an ice bath.
Yes, grind until your eyes bleed. I am just so tired of that whole narrative.
We all are. And I think that's why this source really stands out. It actually starts by dismantling that idea completely. It argues that grind culture is often just, performative.
Right.
This text isn't about productivity hacks. It frames hard work as a philosophical necessity for self-respect. It's really about the relationship between your identity and your effort.
Which is a much more interesting angle.
Yeah.
A scarier one, but more interesting. The text centers on this narrative, it's almost a character study, of what it calls an ordinary person. And this is the part that grabbed me, because this character isn't hitting rock bottom.
No, he isn't sleeping on a park bench. He's fine.
He's doing okay. And that's where the source says the danger is. That fine state is the trap.
Exactly.
Oh, hold on, let's play devil's advocate for a second. Because if I'm listening, I'm thinking, what's so wrong with being fine? I mean, we strive for stability, right?
Hope you too.
We want to pay our bills, have a relaxing weekend. Why does this text frame comfort as the villain?
And that's the crucial question. The source makes a distinction here that I think is really, really profound. It says, when life is unbearable, you are forced to change. Survival kicks in.
Okay, that makes sense.
But when life is comfortable, excuses grow roots. The point isn't that happiness is bad. It's that unearned comfort. It sort of sedates you. It numbs the part of you that knows you could be doing more.
Excuses grow roots. Wow, that's a nasty image. It implies that the longer you sit in that good enough spot, the harder it is to ever get up.
That's it exactly. I mean, if your house is on fire, you run. You don't need a motivational video to tell you to leave a burning building. The urgency is the motivation.
But if your house is just a little too warm...
You might sit there for 40 years.
And that is what happens to this character. He wasn't lazy. I think that's an important distinction. He showed up to work.
He did just enough to keep his boss happy, enough to pay the rent.
But the text explores his internal monologue, and it's just painfully relatable. He kept telling himself these soft, reasonable little lies. I'll start the real work tomorrow, or I just need more time to figure out the plan.
And the big one. Others have it easier than me. That's probably the most seductive one. It just validates your own stagnation.
It's the good enough trap. The source mentions that his dreams didn't die in some tragic explosion. There was no funeral for his potential. They just faded. They got quiet.
And that feels so much sadder, doesn't it? Just drifting away from what you wanted to be because the current was too comfortable to swim against.
Yeah. It's the tragedy of unfulfilled potential. And the source implies that deep down, he knew it. It says that knowledge haunted him.
And there's the core tension. It's not about what society expects of you. It's about the gap between what you know you're capable of and what you're actually doing. That gap creates this low-level anxiety that just never really goes away.
So we have this guy stuck in what you called the velvet trap of comfort. He's managing his life, but he's not leading it. And then the catalyst happens.
And it's such a modern moment. He's scrolling on his phone. We've all been there, just doom scrolling, zoning out, trying to numb that exact anxiety we were just talking about. And he sees someone he used to know.
This is the turning point. He sees a peer. Someone with the same background, same opportunities, basically the same starting line. But this person has a completely different outcome. They are living the life he told himself he would live someday.
Usually when this happens, we label that feeling as jealousy, right? You look at that successful person and you get bitter. You think, must be nice, they got lucky.
Right, jealousy is a defense mechanism. It's actually very useful for the ego. If I'm jealous, I can dismiss your success as luck or privilege. It means I don't have to change because the game is rigged. It lets me off the hook.
But the text says something really sharp here. It says the comparison didn't sting with jealousy. It stung with truth.
And that distinction is everything. The source specifies. He knew it wasn't luck. He knew, looking at this person, that the only real difference was effort. That is what truth feels like.
It hurts because it removes the excuse. It forces the mirror right up to your face.
Yeah, that's the moment you can't look away from. It's stripped of all the yeah bets. And that leads him to ask himself a question that I actually wrote it down because I think it's so terrifying. He asks, if I continue exactly like this, will I respect the person I become?
And notice the metric there. He didn't ask, will I be rich? He didn't ask, will I be famous?
No.
He asked, will I respect myself?
And that just shifts the entire goalpost. Success is external. It's awards, money, likes. You can fake success. You can fake a lifestyle on Instagram.
For sure.
But respect, that's entirely internal. You just can't lie to the face in the mirror forever.
No, you can't. And according to the text, the answer he got back was a terrifying no. He realized that if he stayed on his current trajectory, the good enough one, he would end up as someone he didn't admire.
Yeah.
And that fear became greater than the comfort.
And that's the pivot. That's where the source starts to redefine what hard work actually means. And again, I want to clarify for you listening, this is not about becoming a workaholic.
Not at all. The text is very clear about what hard work is not. It's not grinding nonstop. It's not burnout. It's not performing for an audience.
So what is it?
It redefines hard work as taking responsibility for your potential.
Taking responsibility for your potential? That's a heavy phrase.
It is. It frames potential not as some gift, but as a debt you owe to yourself. You mentioned negotiating with comfort earlier.
Yeah.
That is essentially what the protagonist decided to stop doing. He just closed the negotiation table.
I feel like I negotiate with comfort every single morning. The alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and the negotiation begins right away. Just 5 more minutes.
I'll skip breakfast. I'll work late tonight instead.
Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah.
And we almost always lose that negotiation because comfort is so persuasive.
So he just decides, no more.
Right. But, and this is where the source gets really practical and moves away from the usual self-help fluff, it describes the morning after this big realization.
I loved this detail because in a movie, this is where the montage starts, right?
Mm.
Eye of the Tiger plays, he drinks raw eggs, runs up a mountain.
And suddenly he's a new man.
Right.
But the text says the next morning, nothing changed externally. It was the same room, the same cold floor, same problem, same fear.
The only thing that changed was internal.
The environment didn't conspire to help him.
That is so real. You make a massive life decision at 2 a.m., but 6 a.m. still feels exactly the same. The bed is still warm. The world doesn't care about your epiphany.
And this leads to the real mechanism of change described in the source, which I think is maybe the most useful part of this deep dive. It attacks our whole understanding of motivation.
Okay.
We tend to believe the order is Step 1, feel motivated. Step 2, take action. We wait to feel like it.
I am 100% guilty of that. Waiting for the spark, waiting for the mood to strike.
The source just flips it. It argues that motivation does not come first. Action comes first. Motivation is a biological result of action, not the cause of it.
So it's a feedback loop.
Precisely. Think about it biologically. When you take a small action, even a really difficult one, your brain gives you a tiny hit of dopamine. That dopamine is the fuel for the next action.
So you don't wait for fuel to start the car. The car generates its own charge as it moves.
That's the perfect analogy. The text says he worked despite resistance. He worked despite boredom. He worked despite doubt.
Let's talk about that word boredom, because we usually talk about overcoming fear or pain. But the text specifically highlights boredom. Why is that the enemy?
Because boredom is the filter. The source argues that the invisible work, the work that actually builds success, is repetitive. It's dull.
It's practicing scales.
It's looking at spreadsheets. It's waking up early to write when no one is reading. Our brains hate that stuff. We crave novelty. Boredom is basically the brain screaming, give me stimulation.
And pushing through that scream is the actual work.
Yes. The text says slowly motivation followed. You have to drag yourself through the mud of boredom first, and then eventually your brain catches up and goes, oh, I guess we're doing this. Okay, I'm motivated now.
It's that concept of invisible work, doing the things that no one applauds.
Which is a tough sell in this day and age. I mean, if I eat a salad, I want a medal. If I work late, I want to post about it so everyone sees my hustle. We're conditioned for that instant feedback.
But the source argues that doing it without the applause is what builds the self-respect.
Exactly. If you only do it for the applause, you are working for others. You're a performer. If you do it in the dark, when no one is watching, you're working for yourself. That's how you build an identity that can't be shaken.
But let's be honest about the timeline. The source is clear that progress was slow. It was frustrating.
Yeah, it wasn't an overnight success. Weeks went by with minimal results. And naturally, the doubt came back. That little voice saying, why bother? Nothing is happening.
You're just making yourself miserable for nothing.
But this is where the identity shift really happens. He didn't quit. And why? Because the text says quitting would confirm his worst fear, that he was all talk.
He was terrified of proving his own insecurity right.
Exactly. So he kept going, not because he was seeing amazing results, but because he was refusing to break the promise he made to himself.
And that persistence started to change who he was. Not just what he did, but his actual identity. This is one of my favorite parts of this deep dive, the psychological shift around envy. We mentioned he started this journey because he saw someone else succeeding. But as he started working, the envy it disappeared.
It did. The text says he stopped envying others because he was too busy building. That is such a powerful cure for jealousy.
I love that.
When you are focused on your own lane, on your own wall that you are building brick by brick, you just don't have the emotional bandwidth to look over the fence and resent what your neighbor has.
It makes perfect sense. Jealousy is a passive emotion. It happens when you're watching. When you're working, you're active. You don't have time to be a spectator in someone else's life.
Precisely. You're reclaiming your agency.
Yeah.
And there's an economic concept introduced here that I think we need to spend some real time on. The source calls it the cost of yes.
Every yes costs something. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Can we break this down? Because yes usually feels positive. Yes is opportunity. Yes is fun.
In the moment, sure.
Yeah.
Saying yes to a Friday night out feels like a gain. Saying yes to hitting snooze feels like a gain. You get 10 more minutes of sleep.
Right.
But the source applies basic economics here. Opportunity cost. Every resource is finite, especially your time and your focus.
So when I say yes to the distraction,
You are automatically saying no to your potential. You are paying for that comfort with your future. The protagonist started to understand that economy. He realized that saying yes to immediate pleasure was just too expensive. He couldn't afford it anymore.
that's a huge mindset shift. Instead of feeling deprived, like, oh, I can't go out, he started feeling like a smart investor. I'm choosing not to spend my capital on this.
He was choosing his future over his present. And this is where the rubber meets the road. It's easy to say, I want to reach my potential. It's very hard to say, I'm staying in tonight to work while my friends are out having fun.
That is the cost of yes. You have to be willing to pay the price of being misunderstood or being seen as boring.
For a while, yes. And eventually the results came. But notice how the source describes them quietly, not dramatically.
Right, no ticker tape parade. Opportunities appeared, confidence grew, but the biggest result wasn't external. It was that he realized he was no longer chasing motivation.
He had become disciplined.
He didn't need the hype video anymore because he just was the person who did the work. That's the graduation moment, when the effort stops being a struggle and just becomes who I am.
That is the identity shift. He trusted himself. And that brings us right back to the core theme, self-respect. The source explicitly states this isn't about becoming rich or famous. Those are just side effects, maybe. The real goal is knowing you didn't waste the raw material you were given.
It's interesting because potential is usually treated as this shiny, exciting thing, but the way this source frames it, potential is almost a heavy burden. It's a responsibility.
It is a burden, but carrying it is the only thing that makes you strong. If you put it down, you might feel lighter for a moment, but you become weaker over time.
And this leads to the final concept, which is about time. We talked about the morning after, but let's talk about the future self. The text frames all this work as a message.
Every focused hour is a message to your future self. I didn't give up on you.
That is such a profound way to look at a random Tuesday afternoon when you just don't feel like working. You aren't just doing a task for your boss. You're sending a signal to the person you'll be in 5 years.
It breaks the isolation of the present moment. We often feel so alone in our struggle. This framework suggests you're in a partnership with your future self. You're the caretaker. If you slack off today, you are sabotaging your partner.
You're just handing them a mess to clean up. Here, future me, you deal with this because I wanted to watch TV.
Exactly. And conversely, when you do the hard thing, you're sending a gift forward in time. You're telling that future version of you, I got you, I am taking care of you. And that creates this deep sense of self-worth.
So if we strip away all the complexity, because we love to overcomplicate success, what does the source say we actually need?
It's very, very blunt about this. It says you don't need another plan. You don't need another app. You don't need another podcast, frankly.
Careful, we want them to keep listening.
Huh. True. But the point stands. It says what you need is one honest decision.
One honest decision, not a vague intention, a decision.
A binary decision.
Yeah.
To work when it's hard, to continue when it's boring. We like to pretend success is this puzzle we hasn't solved yet. We buy books looking for the secret. The source is saying, no, the door's unlocked. It's just very heavy. You have to push it open.
It really strips away all the places we hide. We hide behind learning and planning because those feel like work, but they're often just procrastination in a suit.
They are safe.
Uh-uh.
Pushing the door is unsafe. But remember, comfort is the dangerous place.
So as we wrap this up, I want to synthesize this. We've covered a lot, from the trap of good enough to the lie of motivation. But what is the final takeaway?
I think we're looking at a choice between two final outcomes. The source ends with a dichotomy that is the perfect summary. One day, inevitably, you're going to look back on your life. And when you do, you will feel one of two things: pride or regret.
That feels harsh. There's no middle ground, just, it was okay.
Not when it comes to potential.
Yeah.
It was okay is the regret. That's the entire point of the ordinary person's story. He was okay, and it haunted him. Either you used your potential or you didn't. Either you respected yourself enough to try, or you negotiated with comfort until time ran out.
And the scary but also empowering part is that the choice isn't made in the future.
No, it's being made right now. It's being made by what you do immediately after you take your headphones off. The source says you don't need to change your entire life today, just your standards.
Just your standards. That sounds easier than change your life, but I actually think it's harder. It means you stop accepting good enough from yourself.
It means you raise the floor. You stop waiting for the applause. You do the work because it's the rent you pay for the space you occupy in the world.
Which brings us full circle to that opening thought. The conveyor belt. Time is moving.
It is. And it should create a necessary anxiety.
It does. But instead of letting that anxiety paralyze us or trying to numb it with scrolling, the source asks us to use it, to let that quiet realization be the fuel.
Fuel for action. Because remember the loop. Action creates motivation. If you are sitting there waiting to feel inspired by this conversation, you are missing the point. The inspiration comes after you start the task you've been avoiding.
Right. The magic is on the other side of the boredom.
And on the other side of the discomfort.
You know, we live in such a loud world. Everyone's broadcasting everything. But the most important things happening in our lives are the things no one sees. It's the decision to not hit snooze, the decision to read one more chapter.
Those are the bricks. And if you lay enough of them, you build a house of character that can withstand anything. But if you don't lay them, you have nowhere to live when the storm comes.
Well, that is a sobering thought, but I think a necessary one. We usually try to leave you with something light, but today I think we have to leave you with that question, the one the protagonist asked himself.
If I continue exactly like this, will I respect the person I become?
It's a question only you can answer, and you answer it not with words, with whatever you choose to do next.
Choose wisely.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Now go do the work.